First, we have our quick 5-minute introduction. Sarah, what's something great that happened recently?
Obviously, gotta be attending Worldcon. Like, there's no question that that has to be the good thing. But I'm not going to talk about that at length because we will be doing an exclusive episode for our Patreon supporters where we talk about our Worldcon experience, our first Worldcon experience. So if you're interested in that, go support us on Patreon.
Yes, we'll probably be posting clips elsewhere, but if you want the full story, in the interest of not having the exact same answer as you, because I was attending Worldcon for 3 weeks or however long it was, our tomato plants went absolutely nuts. We picked 2 buckets of tomatoes after we got home at the end of Worldcon yesterday.
Oh, wow.
It was incredible. And there were even some that had fallen, like had over-ripened and fallen to the ground. And that was exciting. So, yay.
I'm still kind of bummed that we didn't sit outside eating tomatoes and drinking gin and tonics.
We fully intended to, and it was going to be lovely. But then we were sitting in the convention center for 12 hours instead. We should have known.
We should have known.
What are you drinking tonight?
I thought about drinking whiskey because that seems like a very topical drink for a detective noir novel. And indeed, our hero drinks whiskey occasionally. But he also drinks wine, so I'm having a glass of wine instead.
I'm having my patented box wine with sparkling water wine spritzer garbage drink.
I'm also drinking box wine. Trader Joe's box wine, which is not my favorite box wine, I have discovered.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've tried it.
Yeah, this is the first time I've tried it too. Other box wine is better.
Well, have you read anything good lately?
Does it count as reading if we listened to authors read their work?
I think so. I mean, that's like do audiobooks count as reading, which is not a question we're tackling tonight.
No, audiobooks definitely count as reading. I guess I mean...
Does attending an author reading count? Yeah.
So in that case, yes, because we attended some readings at Worldcon, and they were great. I loved hearing Andrea Hairston read from her latest novel, the title of which I cannot remember at the moment.
I'm going to look it up. Hold on.
It starts with an M. It's like Mind something.
Mindscape.
Yes, that. Andrea Hairston is such a performer that her reading, short though it was incredible.
I think my favorite from that was Writers with Drinks, organized by Charlie Jane Anders. And there were like 4 or 5 different authors reading that evening. But I think my favorite was the excerpt by Cecilia Tan. We did walk in late, so I assume it was from The Siren and the Sword, because that was the picture that was projected up on the wall. But that is a guess. I'm pretty sure I'm right. And it was really fun, and I'm excited to probably going to pick that book up and read more of it. I say like I'm not doing podcast reading 24/7.
I mean, aspirational.
Yes. Well, we are here to talk about the house on Utopia Way. We often mention that poor authors have to deal with readers having lives and bringing weird bullshit to their books that they weren't expecting. This is not a bad thing, but I have had the song Utopia Parkway by Fountains of Wayne stuck in my head for the last week and a half.
Yes.
Constantly.
There are worse songs to get stuck in your head.
Yeah, it's not a problem. It's just not related to this book at all. So it was a little distracting.
I did really enjoy this book, though. It is weird.
Oh, it was the best kind of weird.
I felt like I should be doing acid while reading this book.
Like the acidic Jews. That was my favorite. So at one point, our main character is walking through a neighborhood full of a bunch of different religious sects, but they're all extremely different from our worlds because of things that we're not going to talk about.
Everything from our world has kind of gotten like garbled. It's like a game of telephone, you know, where it starts out the our world version or, you know, name or phrase or mythology or whatever, and then it gets distorted by the time it reaches this book.
So there was the group of acidic Jews wearing tie-dyed robes instead of course, Hasidic Jews. Anyway, I'm sure the transcript of this is going to really love that sentence and totally understand what I was saying.
Sorry to everyone who reads the transcript.
There are some other really great, like, familiar enough that I could immediately recognize the reference, but just twisted in a way that was not off-putting because it was fun, but like very arresting.
I really enjoyed how every time the characters said a word that was what we would call French, I mean, a word in French.
Like je ne sais quoi, like a phrase that is common in English. They weren't like speaking French.
Right. They weren't speaking French. It was a common phrase in English, but it's a French phrase originally. And the character with whom they were speaking would say, I didn't know you spoke German.
My favorite were the incorrect idioms. Like, they really pulled the fool over my eyes. And there was another really good one that I highlighted. It's far through the book, but I don't think just the idiom is a spoiler. Masters of None spoiling the broth. It's just like so good and like makes you bristle a little bit, but in such an intentional, fun way.
Yeah. Also, like all of the talk about Excalibur, which they recognize as a sword, but according to legends, it's a sword made from the bladed right arm of the Nazi god Kali, who's the founder of the Nazi cult. Like, just wild.
Yeah. So the book doesn't start... Actually, no, it does start pretty much throwing you into the deep end.
I would say so.
Our main character, Johnny Orange, is a detective because he can see things that are really there. Whereas the other people in this world, or in this city, it's very clear that there is just a city and there's nothing else but this city. Everyone's very, I'm going to say suggestible, even though that's not really correct. Because it's kind of a psychic suggestibility from the places where they are.
Yeah, so people live in neighborhoods within the city, but the neighborhoods are very clearly bounded and have their own kind of like...
Rogue signals is kind of the phrase that gets thrown around in the beginning of the book.
Yeah, like all of the cities kind of have their own, like, not just, or all of...
neighborhoods, because there's only one city.
Yeah, all of the neighborhoods have their own, like, not
deal.
Culture, but like their own kind of universe bubble. Yeah. It's like a bunch of different little universes in one city, in a sense.
And crossing over from one neighborhood to the other can drive you mad. And often, like, so people generally don't leave their neighborhood. They're all sort of in their own, like, very insular little worlds. Except for some people who are less susceptible than others, like our main character, Johnny Orange, who is, I mean, not unaffected. If he was like the chosen one who was just totally immune, that would have been really lame.
Yeah, he's definitely affected. He just is less affected.
And he can recognize it when it's happening in a way that I think is unusual.
Yes.
So it's a detective story, like you said, like noir. This is a first-person perspective in a way that didn't bother me at all. I think partially because it is just so assumed for this genre that, like, yes, the detective will be talking to you.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's a conversation with the genre, with the detective novel trope.
Yeah. But also, this book is so fucking weird that I wasn't ever thinking, why is he talking to me? I was more wondering, why is this raven bringing him candy cigarettes?
Yeah, like, why is he smoking strawberries?
There were much more important questions. So, just delight. And so, just strange. And it really commits to it. This book never shies away from going all in on the oddities.
And I think that's what makes it work. Like,
oh, yeah.
it is fully committed to what it's doing. It's not getting to a point and then drawing back because it's scared. Like, Mohamed absolutely goes for it.
Yes. And it's still consistent in a way that makes it not difficult to read. So, I mean, this book has nothing in common with House of Leaves, except that House of Leaves is kind of the obvious example of an experimental, strange book. That one you kind of have to fight with. I've never actually finished it. I've gotten like a quarter of the way through twice.
I've never read it, so
Yeah.
I can't speak to it.
I love that it exists. But House on Utopia Way, on the other hand, you have to meet Stefan Mohamed halfway, right? If you're picking up this book, accept that it's going to be bonkers. But if you're, on board with that, if you're willing to play in that sandbox, it's not fighting you every step of the way.
You will be confused, but it will be a good confusion.
And not like,
not a frustrating one.
Yeah, it's even though the world is confusing and overwhelming, I mean, it's a detective novel. There's a very clear goal. He's given a job. He's looking for a missing person. Like, the plot is, I'm gonna say, easy to follow. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I don't want to make it sound like it's overly simplistic or anything, but I think having that really strong, straightforward core helps bring you through all of the other crazy stuff going on.
Yes, I would agree with that. Because, like, you kind of need one thing in the novel, or in any novel. Like, I'm talking in generals right now. Like, you kind of need one thing in a novel to be easy to follow so that when you do have all of the weirdness, it's not too much and too overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, like, that is this detective novel plot where he's looking for someone. It does change a little bit near the end, but by that point,
yeah.
by that point, you are kind of more used to the weirdness of the world, and so it gets easier to navigate.
Yeah, you kind of find your footing.
Yeah.
And you return to characters that you've met and places you've been, and they are, familiar and recognizable. It's not just like, I don't know. This book doesn't fuck with you on purpose. It's clearly setting out to accomplish a goal, and does. I'd say, wildly
goal,
successfully.
The goal is not to fuck with you.
Yeah. You just have to, if you picked it up going, this is a detective noir novel, you'd probably be a little confused.
Yes.
So just know that it does some really fun stuff with, I mean, what would you say, fantasy? Surrealism? It's surreal. I think is what this book is.
Yeah, surrealism. I think that's a very good descriptor.
Yeah. Even to the point where, well, we really can't talk about it, but there's some formatting things that happen. I think that's also why I pulled the House of Leaves reference.
Yeah,
although again, in this book, it's much less frustrating.
We can't talk about it because it does happen at the end of the book, and so the content of the formatting, like, fun stuff, is spoilers, but the fact that it does play with formatting is not a spoiler, I don't think. I will say I read this as an ebook, and I did find some of the formatting hard to read because I was reading on my phone, which is a very small screen.
I was going to say the same thing.
yeah. So it would have been easier to read. I think that would have been easier to read on an actual physical book or even a larger, like, iPad. But
I was going to say the same thing, but maybe from a slightly different angle. I keep thinking, oh, maybe I am, like, favoring ebooks more than physical books. They're more sustainable, they're more portable, 1,000 other things. And then something like this book runs across my desk, and it's like, no, I do need to go buy the physical book, though. Like, I need to see what this is intended to look like on a page.
Yeah.
As batshit as this setting is, there are still some metaphors for our world, I would say. Not in a preachy or even a very obvious way. I mean, it's not that it's not obvious, but
it's not
the point of the book.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not overt. I mean, like, it's there, but it's something you can ignore if you don't want to read into it.
There's two that I'm going to mention.
I think there's a third, but it's definitely a spoiler that I would like to talk about.
Okay. The city is made up of hundreds of mini worlds, disconnected from one another, ignoring one another if at all possible, yet somehow still existing side by side. There is no narrative. And that, I really felt like a comment on, say, like, internet forum silos and echo chambers, and how people have gotten very kind of wrapped up in their own little shit, small world. That was a mixed sentence that I just made. You get what I'm saying, though. But it's not hitting you over the head with it. Like, I pulled out the phrase that makes it, like, pretty clear when you're reading it. But it's not, oh yes, this whole world is a metaphor for modern internet culture. Like, it's not any of that.
Right.
It just makes it feel more, grounded's not the right word. That was another element of this book that made it relatable and familiar, even though that in a sad way, because that is a sad thing that's happening. The other one is about the Nazis. A bunch of us have been saying for a very long time, if those Nazi patches, neighborhoods, were left unchecked, ignored, indulged, eventually they'd spill out and start starting shit. And still, people continue to leave them unchecked, ignored, and indulged. Hell, some people refuse to believe they even exist. Those were my two that I was like, yeah, you're going somewhere with this.
Yeah, and like I said, I have another one, but it is definitely a spoiler, and we can't talk about it now.
The other thing I wanted to bring up in the non-spoiler section is what I'm going to call the emotional core of this book. Although, again, there's a lot going on, and I'm only bringing up the aspects of it that I can talk about without spoiling, because there is so much happening in this novel. Read it. If you are in any way interested in, I know I'm jumping ahead to the question, but...
And you're answering it instead of me. I'm not going to complain, though.
While this book is, well, it starts with the detective tropes, it ends up being sort of surrealist and experimental, but still warm and human in a way that is, like, so perfect. This book was written for me. Okay, we'll move that. We'll talk about it again during the spoiler section. Listeners, you probably just heard a little bit of some bleeping. I got too excited. It probably could be construed as not a spoiler, but I think out of respect for all the crazy places this book goes, we will wait.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that I don't necessarily think it's inherently a spoiler, but it's not mentioned in the blurb in the cover back matter. So,
all right, just trust me, bro. It's also very warm, and there's some really
Well, I mean, what makes the story work is the characterization and the relationships between the characters. Like, that is at the core of this novel, and that, along with the relatively simple starting plot, like, that really keeps you invested in all of the weirdness that's going on.
100%, I agree. Yeah, so once those characters start, because you meet Johnny Orange, who's fun and quirky, and like, let's find out what his deal is. But as we start getting introduced to, well, people he meets and people he has known,
like the larger cast.
Yes, exactly. And his relationships with them, because I do still love Johnny, but he doesn't exist alone. He has, his people around him. And that's when I was like, yes, this book is, it's going somewhere.
Yeah.
And I already did the who should read this book, so our transition to spoilers is ruined.
However, we can now move on to spoilers. Because clearly we have a lot to talk about.
I know, but it's like so much happens in this book that we can't talk about it yet. So this is just going to be one of those, trust me, bro, it's good. Go read it. This episode of Fiction Fans is brought to you by Fiction Fans.
That's us. We really appreciate our patrons because otherwise we fund this podcast entirely ourselves.
Patrons can find weekly bonus content, monthly exclusive episodes, and have free access to our biannual zine, Solsticia.
Or at least we aim to get them out monthly. We're not always successful.
There are 12 exclusive episodes a year. It's maybe the more accurate way to say it.
Anyway, you can find all of that and more at patreon.com/fictionfanspod. Thank you for all of your support.
The remainder of this episode contains spoilers.
Okay, so before I forget my thought,
Yes.
unless you had something else that you wanted to talk about first.
I just want to talk about how much I love Toby. So
Okay,
that can wait.
But before I forget my thought, the other metaphor that I wanted to talk about earlier in our non-spoiler section was rich people and their self-confidence.
Ah, yes.
Because there's a scene where Johnny Orange and
Bloody
Misty,
Marie. Oh, yes.
who is the woman that he was first contracted to find, spoiler, he finds her, under a different name. Plot twist, yes. They go off looking for stuff, and eventually they come to the old country, which is where all of the like super duper wealthy people are. And Misty at one point tries to hit one of the wealthy people with the sword Excalibur and fails completely. Like it bounces off of him. And the explanation is that it's his self-confidence. Like he doesn't think that anything will touch him, so nothing does. And that really, reminded me of wealthy people in the real world. For better or for worse.
And it's kind of introduced earlier, though, too. And that's one of the reasons why, as unhinged as this book gets, or unraveled, I should say, it's still cohesive. You can still follow it. There's foreshadowing. Earlier, Johnny recounts and interacts with a man who is a mime. He mimed a terrorist attack and convinced 50 people that they were dead, so they just lied down and fell asleep. Laid down and fell asleep. I do grammar. And so going back and like finding that like discussion and how he can like bend the rain and the storm around them just through sheer force of will was such like a really nice, it doesn't feel like foreshadowing at the time, because instead it feels like a payoff from all of the mime things that were being dropped. Because, like, what do you mean your arch nemesis was a mime? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's like so then layers of foreshadowing.
Yes, then we meet him and it feels like a big reveal and, like, a huge payoff. And then it turns out that was also just setting up, not just setting up, also setting up, like, the main confrontation at the end.
Yeah, incredible layers.
Layers. Okay, I do need to talk about Toby and Arthur, though, because they loved them so much.
They're so sweet.
So the second person that Johnny Orange is sent to find, I started going into this at the beginning. I think I'm just going to have cut it out and we're going to redo it. But if it sounds like I'm rehearsed, it's because I did this 5 minutes ago. And the person that Johnny Orange is hired to find is Arthur. He's like, I think he's supposed to be like 14 or 15. His parents want Johnny to find their missing kid, except they are robots, Mr. and Mrs. Mobius, and they have built a son. They've constructed their child. And as we find out pretty quickly, he left because they suck.
Yes. They live in a very enclosed enclave in the city, not the old country, but
upper middle class, not ultra wealthy.
Yeah, exactly. And they are super protective. Like, they don't let him leave the house. They monitor all of his like actions. It's just a really claustrophobic way to live for him. So when he sees his opportunity to leave, he takes it, understandably.
And he meets Toby, who is
whom he has met previously.
Okay, but he runs off with Toby. Who is hooligan?
Yeah, he is from a neighborhood which is basically
roving bands of teens.
Yeah, roving bands of teens doing stuff. It actually weirdly reminded me, this is a tangent that is not, there is some relevance, but it's not particularly relevant.
I got a
but
few of those coming, don't worry.
there is a book that I read when I was like 8 or 9. Like I was young in school, and it's about what happens when all of the adults die off for some reason, and it's just kids who are left in the world. This kind of like weird dystopia, and some of them band together. And that book, like I read and reread that book. I should reread it and see what the fuck I was thinking.
Dude, put it on the Nostalgia Book Club. Dude, that sounds like a perfect candidate.
It should. I'm pretty sure I still have my copy of it. Like it was that important to me as a child. But yeah, this particular neighborhood really reminded me of that. Just core concept.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have nothing to add to that.
I told you it was an only semi-relevant tangent.
But okay, and this was when I fell in love with our main character, Johnny, because he finds Arthur in this band of roving teens, and he sees him holding someone's hand, and Johnny's reaction is, oh, I can't take this kid back.
Yeah, Johnny is like, Arthur, your parents would probably appreciate it if you told them where you were, but I'm not going to force you to go back because you're happy, you have a boyfriend, it's great.
Yeah, this is clearly like a choice that you made. And now, in our world, maybe a 14-year-old is not thinking everything through to run off with their boyfriend and live on the streets. But that's obviously not the world they're in. And Johnny's like instinct to go, oh, I will defend this child with my life. It was just so sweet and wonderful. Toby is the friend. I think, yeah, we said that already. Can't stand Johnny Orange, which was also delightful and felt correct. Even though Johnny is constantly like, I said I wasn't gonna do it. I'm not gonna kidnap Arthur. Toby is just like, his parents sent you. You're bad. It's very funny. It's very 15-year-old.
It's very 15-year-old.
Just these two kids are like, to me, are really like the heart, and just Johnny's reaction to them, and he's not trying to be their friend, and then of course, oh no, bounty hunters complicates things. Although also simplifies it, because instead of trying to convince them of one thing or another, it just turns into keep them alive and away from the bounty hunters. Very straightforward goals and clear, like, problems to solve. Survive.
Yes.
Yeah, I loved them so much. And the, like, evolving relationship, there are a couple of moments where Johnny goes, oh no, I probably should be comforting them right now, and I don't know what to do, so I'm just gonna stand here.
His awkwardness around them, like not because he felt he didn't care for them, but just because he's like, I don't know what to do with teenagers.
Yeah,
I loved it.
And then by the end, he doesn't hesitate. Then, I guess, spoiler section, Arthur, near the end, kills his parents to save Johnny and their little group of misfits off on a quest. And didn't hesitate, but obviously has a breakdown because holy shit. And Johnny just jumps in and gives him a hug and like doesn't try to tell him it's going to be okay because that's fucked up. But it was like that growth, their evolving relationship, but also Johnny's evolving emotional intelligence as he's forced to interact with people because he was so isolated at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, and it's also because as we find out through the novel, like he doesn't have all of his memories. Like his memories are also lying to him. So I think that contributes to some of his isolation and not understanding how to interact with people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my random tangent about something that this book reminded me of is, okay, Johnny finds both people he's meant to find, and then they end up going on a quest to figure out what the fuck is going on with their city. Why is it so crazy? And so they're going up far, far, far north. There's a wall. They think Arthur can maybe get through it somehow because he's super strong, they guess. They're just kind of operating on vibes. It's great. They think that the answer will be on the other side of this wall.
They're looking for the old country. They think the old country holds all of the answers.
And I mean, they do find the old country, but
And they do find answers, but
not the answers they wanted.
Yeah, not the answers they want.
So the final patch or neighborhood before the wall is the End of Days. Is that what it's called? Yes, the End of Days. They've at first think it's kind of like a festival or a carnival, but then it ends up being like weird and sex stuff, but not like the informed
fun
consent kind.
It's like sex stuff, but also horror.
Yeah, and which is, you're right. It did remind me exactly of Hellraiser by Clive Barker. Not Hellraiser though. The second book. Shit. I should have looked this up before we started recording. The Scarlet Gospels by Clive Barker. It is the sequel to Hellbound Heart, which is the book that the movie Hellraiser was based on. Actually, both were by Clive Barker, so, you know, same story. In the Scarlet Gospels, though, the main character descends into hell to find someone who gets kidnapped by the Cenobites, Pinhead. And his experience of hell as run by the Cenobites, who, for those of you who don't know, Sarah.
Me.
Cenobites are these kind of demons. I mean, they live in hell, so yeah, demons. Who don't differentiate between pain and pleasure. They're BDSM demons. And Clive Barker's version is, I'm going to say, more hardcore and a little more, it's more of the point. I mean, that's like the whole fucking book is about it. Whereas in House on Utopia Way, this is just a little patch that they're traveling through. But just that, like, I mean, BDSM demons. That's exactly what it was.
It does sound like similar vibes.
Yes. Although this is a little bit more lighthearted, because then the dominatrix queen is like, how dare you not partake in our weird sex stuff? We're gonna do this awful thing and that awful thing. And then Misty just shoots her in the head and is like, no, goodbye. And everyone is in all of the, I'm gonna just say Cenobites. All of
the denizens of this neighborhood.
Yeah, are like, oh fuck, goodbye. Feel free to leave. That was a very good moment. But yeah, very Clive Barker in that moment as well.
So the ending of this book, because I think we are getting close to the end of the book, is really wild. This is where the main like formatting stuff that we're talking about in the non-spoiler section happens. But
yeah, our main character, so after they have their confrontation in the old country, do I even say it like in chronological order? I feel like we need a double spoiler section.
I actually kind of don't want to spoil the ending, even though this is the spoiler section.
Okay, I'm not going to talk about how they destroy the world.
Yes.
They choose to destroy the world because the ultra wealthy have this system that is the only thing creating what little order there is. And Johnny Orange and all of his friends say, this isn't good enough. Like,
yeah, this is an exploitative system. You are exploiting everyone who lives in the city so you can enjoy your wealth and order.
Yeah. And, the people maintaining status quo say, well, if you destroy the status quo, then there will be, chaos. It'll be so much worse. And they say that's a gamble we're willing to take. And so they destroy the world. Read the book. We have jumped very far to the end, but holy shit, the journey to get there is incredible. There's time jumping. The chapter numbers don't go in chronological order, which was so cool. Which I guess is another formatting thing that this book does.
Yes.
But as the world is unraveling, the font gets like pulled apart and letters start disappearing, and I do wish I'm gonna have to get this as a physical copy.
Yeah, like I need this as a physical copy to see that on the page.
Yeah. I want to know if the way I saw it, how close that was to intended, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously it was intended, but...
Right, but ebooks also, because they're... And dynamic. I forget... Yeah, they're dynamic. Like, they change depending on the screen size. And so it is not necessarily going to be exactly what was intended, although it can get pretty close. But
when it is something like this, whether a line is on one page or the next can really affect your reading experience.
yeah.
It's like poetry as an ebook does not work for me for that same reason.
Poetry is an ebook, unless it's poetry that doesn't necessarily care about the formatting as much, can be hard. Yeah, I agree.
But oh my gosh. And then there's a little bit of a hopeful ending.
Yeah, it's very kind of like ambiguous and open-ended. I mean, we do see Johnny and Misty like wake up in a world afterwards, but there's no explanation as to what's going on, really.
Which they also don't know, right?
Yeah.
It leaves with them going, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Except then you hear the tapping on the window, which means sorrow. Presumably, I'm assuming means that sorrow was coming.
Or it could have been the other Raven Hiraeth.
Maybe, yes.
Which I may be mispronouncing. It's a Welsh word that means like homesickness or something. Longing for home.
But holy shit, talk about a metaphor. The ultra wealthy saying, don't dismantle our systems because it'll just be even worse. And the common people calling their bluff and having it. We don't know how it works out. But I think the book says that in this case, there's an optimistic ending.
I think so too. I did come away from this book feeling good about the ending and not like depressed.
Yeah. You at least as the reader, you are in a good mood at the end. Maybe everything's terrible. I don't know. No one knows.
No one knows, but like that's not the vibe I got from the end.
No, and because this book had really prepared me for this like off-kilter feeling basically the whole time, I had no problem with such an open-ended ending.
Yeah, agreed. 100%.
It like really fits. If the novel had tied up with a perfect bow and everyone lived happily ever after, and here's where they are 10 years later.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been appropriate.
No.
Like, this was the ending that this book required.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It was so fucking good. I really loved this book.
Yeah, it was just weird in the best way.
Yeah, and not in a difficult way. I know I keep harping on that, but there are definitely books that try to be weird and then just end up fighting you.
Yeah. Well, okay, so this book to me felt a little bit like the kind of weird that people who use AI to write wish they could do but can't because AI is
has no soul.
Has no soul. Yeah.
I believe you. I'm not super plugged into that conversation, but
yeah, like it was good weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
was excellent.
What was he written?
This is his 5th novel, I believe.
Oh, he's a spoken word performer. Of fucking course he is. That fits. / complimentary for the record. Well, this definitely makes me want to read more of his work.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. I had a great time with this book. Again, I did feel like I should be tripping on acid the entire time, but I had a great time with it.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Fiction Fans.
Come disagree with us. We're on Blue Sky and Instagram at FictionFansPod. You can also email us at fictionfanspod@gmail.com or leave a comment on YouTube.
If you enjoyed the episode, please rate and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and follow us wherever your podcasts live.
We also have a Patreon where you can support us and find exclusive episodes and a lot of other nonsense.
Thanks again for listening, and may your villains always be defeated. Bye!
Bye!